Hello everyone and welcome to ECE373 Lab1 Part 2. In this part, we'll be implementing the book.java class. We'll be writing the book test.java to test the book class that we have written. The book class that we'll be writing has three fields: the title field, which is of the type string, the author type, which is of the type string, and person, which is an instantiation of the person's object. It has one constructor method and setters and getters for all the field variables. Let's go to the project that we created in part 1. So we already have the persons.java and persons.test.java JUnit test. Let's go ahead and add the book.java class to the source folder. To do that, right click on the source package and click on class. Your name of the class is book. Make sure that the source folder is your project name / source and the package is the source package. We'll keep all the default check marks and we'll click finish. So this creates a new class, a book class in the source folder. So we'll go ahead and write down all the field variables and the methods that we saw in the UML diagram. So the first one was private string title. Second one was private string author, which has the author name, and the third one is private person. So once we have these three field variables created, we'll write the constructor that we saw in the UML diagram. So public book open brackets. Let's define the title as Hamlet and author as Shakespeare, and let's define person as new person. So if you see, the default constructor sets the title as Hamlet and the author as Shakespeare. Sorry, I misspelled Shakespeare. Okay, so we have the type of text and it creates a person object with the default person constructor. Next we have the setters and getter methods. Let's write the setters for setters and getters for title. So we'll have public. Since we so first we'll write the getter. So getter has a return type. Since we are getting the title name, we'll have return type as string. So return title. So public string get title is the getter method which returns the title. Next is the setter method for title. So since setters do not return anything, the return type is void. Set title is the method which has string new title in it. So when you give new title, it will set the title of the book as the new title. So we'll be setting the title as new title. Similarly, we'll be writing the setters and getters for author. So first we'll write the get author method. So public, again the return type is string, so public string get author, and we'll be returning author when we call this method. Let's write the setters. So since again the setter has no return type, we'll have void, public void, set author. We'll be giving it a new author. So when this method is called, the author name is set to the new author. Now for setters and getters for person field variable. So public, since we are returning person, for get person method, we'll have the return type as person, and we'll return person. The setter method again has no return type, so void set person has input new person. So whenever the method set person is called, the person variable is set to new person. So now we have written all the setters, getters, and the default constructor for the book.java. We'll save this file. Now to write the JUnit test to test the book class, we will go to the, we'll select the test package, right click on it, new, and select the JUnit test case. Things to note on this page is you should have the new JUnit Jupyter test selected. The source folder should be your project name / test. Your package should be the package corresponding to the test that was created. The name of the test is again the class followed by test. So we are testing for book. So book test is the name of the JUnit test. Similar to the person.java, we should be giving the complete name for the book class, which is edu.ece373.lab1.book. We will not be clicking on finish, but we'll click next. So we'll be testing for the constructor class and the three setters, which is set title, set author, and set person methods. We'll click the create find method steps and create tasks for generating test methods. Click on finish. So we have this default template that has been created. Again, we see that all of them have fail assertions, so we'll have to write all the tests. Let's go ahead and write the test book. So this is the constructor test case. If we see, when we instantiate the book as a default constructor, it sets the title as Hamlet, author as Shakespeare, and person as new person. New person, so if you go back to person, when a new person default constructor is called, it sets the name of the person as unknown and the max books that the person can borrow as 2. So we'll be checking for all these conditions. Let's go ahead and create a new object with the default book constructor b1. Now b1 has the b1 title will be Hamlet. The author will be Shakespeare, and new person will have the person name set to unknown, since we are defining the default constructor of a person, and person max books will be set to 2. So we'll be checking for all these 4 conditions in this test. Let's go ahead and write our assert equals. In assert equals, the actual value, first thing we'll be testing is the title. So title is Hamlet, and book p1 dot get title will give us the title name. Assert equals. Next we'll be checking for the author name. We know that the author name is Shakespeare, and to get the author name from the book object, we'll use the get author method. To get to the person's name and max books, we'll first have to, so we know that the person's name is set to unknown when default person's constructor is called. To get to the person's object, you'll have to first get the persons from the book object. So p1.getPerson will get you the person, and the person object has get name method, which will give you the name of the person, which should be set to unknown. And assert equals, this is to check the max books allocated to the person, which is 2. Again, we'll get the person with p1.getPerson and get the max books associated with the person object with get max books object. Let's go ahead and save this and run the first test and see if we have done everything correctly. So run as JUnit test. So we see that the test book is passing. Let's go ahead and do our next test set title test case. Let's create a new book object, book p2 as new book, and let's set the title to Tale of Two Cities. Now we'll use the assert equals method to test if the book object has been set to Tale of Two Cities or not. So the actual value is Tale of Two Cities, and to get the name associated with the book object, we'll use p2.getTitle method, and we'll save it. Let's go ahead and run it. So set title is passing. Let's do the test set author now. Let's create a new book, b3 as new book. Let's set the author, b3 dot set author. Let's set the author as Charles Dickens. And now we'll use assert equals to test if Charles Dickens has been assigned as the b3, as the author of b3 object. So to get the author, we'll use this get method, get b3.getAuthor, We'll save this file, go ahead and run it. So our test set author is also passing. So we're left with one last test case, which is test set person. Let's go ahead and create another book object before, and now we'll be testing for a person. So let's create a person p1 as new person, and instead of using the default constructor, we'll use the constructor which assigns name and max books that can be associated with the person. So let's name the person as Bill, and let's give 5 as the max books he can buy. So now we'll be setting the person by using setPerson method. So b4 dot setPerson, since we have new person p1, we'll set b4 setPerson as p1. So now b4 object has a new person with the name Bill, who has a maximum borrowing capacity of 5 books. So we'll use assert equals to test for both these things. We'll test the name first. So the name of the person that we set is Bill, which should be equal to the book object. We'll get the person with getPerson method. So we have the person now, and the person has a method getName. So b4.getPerson gives you the person, and getName will return the person, which is set to Bill, as we saw earlier. Similar analogy will be applied to check for the number of books that the person can borrow. So 5 is the actual value, and b4.getPerson gives us the person object, and getMaxBooks on the person object gives us the maximum books allowed by the person to borrow. And then we'll save this. We'll run the final test and see if everything is right. We have an error here. Oh, so since we are using person's object, person's class, we'll have to import the person's class. So we'll import edu.ece373 lab1 person. This way the linking issue should be solved. Let's save this file. Still have an error. Oh, it should be lab1. Now it should be resolved. Let's go ahead and run it. Run a JUnit test. Voila. Now we see that all of the tests are passing with the JUnit test case that we created. Finally, when you finish your creation of your book and JUnit tests, you'll have to archive it to a zip file. In order to archive it, click your project name, go to File, click Export, select Archive File, go to Next, Make sure that you deselect the bin folder and make sure to select the dot class path and dot project. Give uh, Select the file name that you and the path where you want to save your file. So mine is lab1 underscore last name dot zip. Select zip format, keep everything as default and click on finish. Since I already have the file, it's asking me if I want to overwrite it or not, so I'll be clicking yes. So this should save the project as a archive zip file. This is the end of lab 1. Thank you.